whatever idea you have that you've already made up in your mind is not going to work, whatever concept you're thinking of that you're not really sure how people are going to perceive it or think about it, say it anyway. Co-writing sessions should be a space to be able to say all the things, and whether they work or not, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about your choice as an artist, as a creative, to express yourself, to try new ideas, and maybe even land that idea in the song, or maybe laugh for 20 minutes about how it's just not going to work, or shrug and then try something else, because that's what the creative process is all about. What's up, guys? Jamie Grace here, and welcome to The Audio, a podcast for women and girls who create. Today, we're going to be talking about co-writing and collaborating, but very specifically in the co-writing session in and of itself. I'm going to give you guys 10 different tips that have helped me as a co-writer, as a writer, co-writer, and I'm excited to share those with you guys today. So co-writing is when you are not the only person listed on the song that's writing the song, right? You know, whether this is a song that goes on an album, a song that is played at an open mic, a song that is for a school project or a church setting, songwriting, co-writing is a really cool and collaborative just part of the creative process as a whole. I've co-written with a lot of different people. My favorite person to write with is my big sister, Morgan Harper Nichols, and we've written a lot of songs in a lot of different ways. Sometimes we literally co-write by like just texting each other something and being like, can you do something with this audio? Or what do you think about this chorus? Or I might see something that she posts online and then I'll text it to her and be like, can this be a verse for a song? And she'll be like, yes. That's also happened before. Like my parents are pastors. That's happened before too, where I'll be like, I think you should get a percentage of this because it's all of a sudden something they said that I want to put into a song. And so co-writing can happen in a lot of different ways, especially because of, 2020. A lot of people started doing a lot of virtual co-writes, which is where they'd be writing over Zoom together or over a similar platform. I did not do a lot of that. To be honest, it gives me a lot of anxiety, and I just was not prepared for what that could look like. And so I said yes to like very, very minimal like writers and producers that I already knew in person. But that's a very common way that a lot of people like to co-write. People also like to set up in-person sessions. And as I've already kind of mentioned, there's also more of the not real-time co-writing, which is like sending someone something and asking if they can fix it, asking if they can update it, asking if they can change it or collaborate. There's lots of different ways to co-write, but today, as I shared, I'm going to tell you guys 10 different things that have helped me as a writer when it comes to co-writing. This is not a gear review video, but I don't think it's any secret that I have a microphone attached to my Game Boy. It's not actually a Game Boy mic, and I love Rode, and I love this mic, but this little pop filter thingy, y'all, I'm not, we need to do something that stays better, because this is annoying. I try to be super positive. It just really drives me insane. This is why I barely use it, and my audio suffers because of it. In no particular order. Number one, well, this actually is number one. Have 2 to 3 general themes, goals, pitches, or concept in mind before. So I've gotten really excited about co-writes before, so excited that I get there and I'm like, oops, I forgot to think about this. Like I'll say yes because the person's really cool or because they offered really great snacks. And then I get in the co-writing session and I realize I don't have a plan. Now, I will say the way my brain works, I can usually figure out something pretty quick. But a couple of examples would be like the heart-wrenching ballad at the end of a pop album, or something lighthearted about learning to be yourself, or an upbeat worship song for the beginning of service, right? So you might already have these concepts in mind because sometimes a co-writing session might happen by, hey, do you write songs? Yeah, I'm working on yada, 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 yada. Could you help me with this? Right. So that's already kind of the yada, 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 whatever that was. That's already a general idea of like, oh, we already know like what we want to write about. Right. So if you don't have that though, you want to make sure you do. And just try to think of a couple of concepts or ideas so that when you sit down with the person or the people that you're writing with, you already know what you want to do, you already know what you want to accomplish. And even if it's not the same as the other person, you guys can try to, find somewhere to meet in the middle. The second thing I would say is take at least two of these following things: a notebook, tablet, like an iPad or a non-Apple tablet, a laptop, or a mini dry erase board. And I know that's a weird one. I don't care. Live your life. If you want to take a mini dry erase board to a session, please take it to a session. Um, the truth. I paid too much money for this mic and to be doing that. I say take at least two of these things until you really know your vibe, and how you like to work in a co-writing session, but also because sometimes you just need that fresh perspective. Like you might be sitting there with a notebook and a pen and you're like, yeah, this is how I always write. It's working, all these things. And then all of a sudden your brain is just like, "Ugh," and you need to change perspective. Sometimes changing perspective means getting up and going outside. Sometimes changing perspective means eating some food and realizing, oh, I might have needed food or I might have been dehydrated. Let me, drink some water. Sometimes changing perspective means going to a physically different space where you're writing, maybe closing the writing session, whatever it might be. But sometimes a different perspective means switching to a laptop over a notebook or switching to a dry erase board over a laptop. Sometimes I write on the walls of this room only, and I've written on my piano. I let our daughter write on her piano. I understand that that's not going to work for everyone in every setting, but sometimes you need to change your perspective. That's not only in songwriting and creativity, and I could do a whole I, I don't know. I see myself now, but my camera, everybody is getting on my nerves today. Everybody meaning like technologically. If you're gonna use any type of like device or something, that's also really helpful to hop on like Google Drive. I think in Google Docs, you can have like real-time editing and you can see who's editing what. And then also like Notes app, you can do the same. It's like the Apple app, Notes app. You can like share it with someone and edit it together. In some sessions, like some songwriters like for there to be a designated person that is keeping track of like the lyrics and the structure of the song. And I do find that to be helpful, especially if one person is especially skilled at that, or two, if one person is like the artist that's going to be doing the song. So in a hypothetical situation, if you're the artist, you can say, hey, here's the drive or the Google Doc or the note of the official song lyrics, right? But then you have something separate like your notebook or like a separate app that you are tracking all your ideas and all your thoughts into. You don't have to put all of your thoughts and all your ideas into the main file, right? Because you might get inspired to write something else and then you just end up typing away and then you return to that later. So it can be really helpful to use that kind of like tracking system. Whoever's going to do it, use Google Docs or Notes app, something where you all can read along and track along in real time. Number three, if you already show up with some of the song, especially if it's more than half of the song written, be specific about what you need. When we were writing Beautiful Day, it was myself and two other writers, and we got to the bridge and it just was not happening. It just wasn't happening. So I reached out to Morgan and I said, hey, myself and these other writers, we can't seem to get this bridge situated. So can you come over to the studio sometime this week and help us finish the bridge? I actually think there was another lyric that Morgan heard at some point during the song. And she was like, hey, what if it was this or that? Because that would work well with the bridge that she ended up writing. And it made a lot of sense. And she's also a writer that I really trust and someone that I know really well. We, met at the hospital when I was born. She's my sister. And so we've been really close for a long time. So we have the kind of writing relationship where she can do that. With that being said, something that can be a little bit overwhelming are the amount of ideas and options that you have when writing a song. If you finish a song and then you bring a writer in to see, well, what do you think about it? They'll likely have some thoughts. And then you guys finish it and then you bring another writer in and another writer in and another writer in. Before you know it, there's so many different revisions being made. The song could be great when all of y'all are done. The song could have also been great before 5 of them came along or before any of them came along, right? So it's hard to necessarily put a hardcore like right or wrong or yes or no when it comes to creativity and when it comes to the co-writing and the songwriting process. However, it's good to be mindful about being intentional, especially when you're talking about co-writing. You don't want to give someone the impression that you need them to write with you the whole song that will be the first single from your debut album, when really you need a co-writer to come in and help you with the melody of the verses. You want to be transparent about that before the writing actually commences, before it actually starts. And if you do get into a situation where someone is wanting to change more than you're wanting them to change, we'll talk about that a little bit later in more detail, but I would just say you can prevent some of that by being able to be upfront and honest about what it is that you are looking for when you invite them to the session. Another example of that was the waiting. I wrote with Morgan and Natalie Grant, and I called them and said, I'm stuck. I only have a verse and a chorus, and I just can't figure it out. We didn't change anything about the chorus, and I don't think we changed anything about the first verse. I'm pretty sure they wrote the rest, right? There's no bridge. I can't think of it right now, but I don't know. I cannot think if that song has a bridge right now, but I can think that I was intentional with them about what I needed, and about what I needed help with writing. The next thing that I want to say kind of ties into that a little bit. And so number 4, percentage is not a bad word. I used to be so scared of this word. When we would get down to percentages of songs, I would just get so much anxiety because I felt like I deserved more than I got, and I didn't know how to speak up for myself. And so just my anxiety would just allow me to just they go, fine, 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 and just kind of let things happen so that I didn't come across as complicated because I'm the only girl and I'm always the youngest, and I was also almost always the only girl, the only teenager, and the only black person in writing sessions, unless I brought my sister. And those few other times I wrote with like Natalie and a few other people. And so it's really hard because I'm sitting there like, I don't want to be a stereotypical girl and be like, I deserve more because I wrote this. But you also want to learn how to stand up for yourself. So percentages are basically when you write a song with someone, if you guys both walk into a room and say, let's write a song today, and it's very likely that it'll be 50-50. If 50%, 50%. And then when you send that song off to publishers and stuff like that, you've got to dock those percentages because that affects how people get paid and how they're credited and all those things. I won't be getting into all those logistics today. But, if you bring someone a song and you say, hey, it's mostly done, I need a little help, it's likely that's going to be a 70-30 or an 80-20 split. Like, right, these are the actual awkwardness of the numbers. And I say awkwardness because they have felt so awkward to me for so long, but they really don't anymore. Because I learned how to be grown and not be ashamed that like this is the part of the business that you just have to be realistic about. Like percentages are a thing, percentages matter, and sometimes you might take a little less. That's okay. Sometimes I don't want to say take a little more because that's I don't think that's okay. But all that to say, percentages are a very crucial part of the songwriting process. And so I think if you are able to, sometimes you can bring that up in the beginning. Just say, I've written 50% of a song. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing to say at all. I am not someone that I don't like to take more than I think I deserve. And I also think it's okay sometimes to take less in a very collaborative experience, right? You'll see sometimes on songs, they'll have 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 writers on them. And I feel like a lot of people are always like, oh, songs don't need that many writers. Okay, fine. Like some songs don't need that many writers. Like, then don't write on those songs. But if I saw a song that had 3 of my favorite writers on it, and then it got sent off to be recorded by this person, and then they couldn't decide if they wanted it, and they made some edits on it, and so then they passed on it, so then it got moved on to another person, and then they pulls in another demo from another person. Before you know it, it's been 5, 6 years. This song's been floating around in all these emails, and people have been adding to it, and getting percentages and stuff. By the time it gets to my email, and they're like, "Hey, Jamie Grace, we are pitching this song for," I'm like trying to think of an artist. We're pitching this song for Paramore. It already has 10 different people that wrote on it because all these people can't make up their mind, yada, yada, yada. Would you take 10% and just edit the song a little bit? If you think I'm gonna say no, you know what I mean? Like, now if they were saying, I don't think this would ever happen. They were like, "Yo, Jamie, we're gonna make all the other writers take 1%, and you can get 90% just for putting your name on it." First of all, I honestly don't think that happens. If it does happen, that is shady. And I would never do that because I would never want to take more. But to be a part of something that I was truly passionate about, like writing a beautiful song for Paramore, a band I really love, if it were, kind of set in stone, like, "Yo, this is what's happening. This is the percentage that's available. What can you contribute to this?" I would totally do that. That'd be so cool. So learning that percentages are not bad was super helpful for me. And just learning how to speak up for myself as well. I have said before, and I cannot even think of the specific scenarios, so I won't even try to tell you what songs these were because I don't know the specific scenarios. But I have said a few times before, I don't feel comfortable taking less than this percentage amount. Or because of my contribution, I know that I wrote at least this percentage of the song, right? So I think it's just about being honest about the work that you've contributed, being honest about the work that you've added and done, and then hopefully and prayerfully being able to work with people who are also honest and who are also transparent and who are not just trying to get a piece of a pie because it looks good. And that can be challenging, that discernment and that kind of stuff. And man, just everybody go to therapy, then go to church, and then go to a small group. Well, all three. Don't just like pick one. Go to all of them. Okay, so number 5 is have courage and say things that might be bad ideas. So I kind of already addressed this in the intro, but I wholeheartedly believe you should just be trying. You should, similarly to what I was saying, like, try to use discernment and work with honest people. Like, also work with fun people. Work with people that you can say things like, "What if?" and you can laugh about it. Sometimes you just have to say the lyric out loud that you don't think is going to work just to laugh about it and then move on. Or sometimes you don't know if a lyric is going to work, and so you try it and you say it or you sing it, you record it, and then the next day you're texting someone and you're like, "It actually wasn't a good idea." Be okay with the fact that we are human. We are all human. And trying and failing is a part of succeeding. Trying and is a part of succeeding, right? Like, I don't even want to use failing all the time because sometimes it's not a failure. If it got a good laugh in the studio, it's not a failure if you were able to be a little bit more confident than you were last year in saying something that you wouldn't have said before because you were nervous to talk in this setting, So yeah, just don't be afraid to try, work with honest people, and I hope that it'll be a really good experience for you. I think one huge advantage that I've had, and maybe privilege is a better word, is working with my older sister because, I'm not ashamed to, or I'm not new to her being like, "Jamie," So having that happen in like a writing session, it happens. I have been embarrassed a few times because I said something that just didn't work, but the embarrassment was internal, right? Like, the embarrassment was not a bunch of other people going, "You're a loser." The embarrassment was because I was internally like, "Oh no, did I say the right thing?" But I don't think anybody's like sitting around talking about awkward lyrics I tried to make work 10 years ago. And if they are, You're welcome for being your comedy. Like, I don't know. Okay, so number six is learn how to play single notes on a keyboard slash piano or app, or keyboard slash piano app or website. So not everybody's going to be able to play, instruments, and not everybody wants to play instruments, and that's fine. I do recommend trying. Definitely either guitar or ukulele or piano. But if anything, when you have a keyboard or piano that has all the notes on it, A to G, my piano's right here, and you can at least go like, you can at least have a general idea of like notes and melody. I think that's incredibly helpful. So just learn that, practice that, even if you don't learn chords. That's why I said single notes. I encourage you to pursue chords. But even if you're learning single notes, play those single notes along with songs you already know, songs you already like. Look up, chords to this song and play the single notes. Don't even worry about playing the chords. If it says A, then play the A. Instead of the A chord, you're just playing the A note. That is not always going to get you exactly understanding all the notes and music theory at all, for sure. But this will help. It will help, especially in the co-writing process and in the writing process as a whole, to familiarize yourself more with notes, and where they fit and where they don't fit in music. And where they don't fit, I more so mean by the standards of music, because anything can happen if you just believe. So, number seven, remember that not everything has to be decided right away. It's okay to, especially if this is a song for you, right? If this is a song that you're pitching for someone else, or a song that you are working with the artist in the room, maybe don't say this, but if it's a song for yourself, it's okay to say, hey guys, if it's cool, I want to close the books on this one today. I don't think I want to keep working on this. I'd like to just finish it in my own time. It's okay to say something like that. Again, if the artist is in the room and it's not you, or if the artist is outside of the room, probably don't say something like that unless you were the one that's supposed to be doing the majority of the writing. But when you're writing a song for yourself, like, you might just feel a block. You might just not. You might need a little bit more time to process what the song is about. You might want to bring in another writer, and email them the following week and say, hey guys, if it's okay. I know we had already agreed on 33% splits for all three of us. Would you guys be okay taking a little bit less so that I can add this fourth writer? And yada yada yada. Now, I want to be clear and say that not everybody communicates like this. Some people do. Not everybody communicates in these percentages and stuff. Some people do, some people don't. It really depends on what region you're in, what genre you're in, what culture of writers you're in. I think it's important. I think it saves a lot of heartache. I think it saves a lot of passive aggressive emails back and forth, and then people start copying in their staff and their team, and it gets awkward. And so I recommend it, instead of just kind of like going behind their back and finishing it or whatever. If you are not the artist for the song, and it's okay to just kind of like sit back in your seat a little bit and be like, guys, I don't really know what this one, or just kind of listen for a minute, just see what the other writers are doing in the room. Not everything has to be solved that day, unless it has to be solved that day. Unless, publisher, producer is like, it's got to be solved today. It likely doesn't have to be solved that day. And so, that is something, just hopefully that's helpful to remember. Okay, number 8. This is a bonus, but can be helpful. And that's learn how to produce a demo, or learn how to record a demo. So you can look at the episodes 4 and 5 of the audio, and I jumped way more into production and stuff like that. But I kept it pretty simple, and hopefully it'll be pretty helpful for you in recording a demo. But when you're writing a song, if someone's a producer, especially if you're working out of someone's studio, it's very likely that they're going to be the ones, kind of working on a track, working on a demo, working on a reference track. while you guys are writing, and that's totally fine, super cool. But it's also totally okay, especially if you're inviting people to your space, to your home, to your studio, to kind of be able to record a basic demo of something, or if you want someone to write something for you, to be able to record a guitar vocal demo or piano vocal demo, to be able to send off to them if it's not going to be an in-person real-time co-writing session. So learning how to do a demo, if you're a songwriter, that is a very good thing to work on. Number 9, establish who is going to be at the session. This is something that is super important. I joked about this in the the last episode 6, where I talked about the production terms. And I said that a friend is someone that comes in and gets a percentage of a song. So you just want to be like super transparent, about that. I like to give people their credit. Something that someone told me. It was, I don't think I'm allowed to say my relationship with this person, but it was a professional relationship that I had with this person. And they pulled me over to the side and they said, this was almost 10 years ago. And they said that I was overpaying my band. And I was like, they are 19-year-olds that live in my guest house. What do you mean overpaying? Like, I feed them. Like, they need money. And I stand by it to this day. I don't care. Like, if people need something, the Lord's gonna make a way. And if he just so happens to use you as a vessel, don't be shutting that down. Don't be, stop talking. I think about it all the time. He told me that multiple times. Like, you overpay your band. You overpay your band. I'm like, well, no comment. But anyways, all what I'm getting at is that if someone is in a room, if you're writing in a room with 2 other writers and there's a 4th person that's just walking in and out the room, and they're there, maybe they're playing their Nintendo, whatever, and then they start contributing lines to the song. In some cultures, people I've actually heard this happen, and I think it's kind of funny. In some cultures, they'll be like, could you stop trying to get a cut of the song, please? But at the same time, if someone says something that is pivotal or helpful to the song and then you use it, they did help, right? So the thing that I was getting at is that I like to credit people. If you give me a little bit of a song or our conversation inspired something, inspiration gets on the murky line of did they give me a lyric or did they inspire me? Because being inspired by someone does not warrant credit, but using their words verbatim does. So be mindful of who all is going to be in the room. Because yes, it's nice to have people contributing to a song in a beautiful way. And yes, we want to give you your credit if you helped write the song. But if I plan to be writing with 3 people and there's 4 of us here, and then you have 7 friends and they all just adding stuff, now I'm all about giving people credit, but if I didn't invite you to get credit, how you get in here and why is you still here? So, figure out who's all going to be there. I love asking that question in social settings. Who all is going to be there? Because I'm sleepy already and the party is next weekend. Ask those questions. Who are we writing with? Okay, great. So we have 3 writers. Great. Super cool. See you there. And you get there and there's 15 musicians in the room. Start asking questions. Why is Billy here? Billy is very talented, but Billy always trying to get 73% of something. So tell Billy to go on somewhere, So unless you want Billy there, but you deserve to know who's going to be at a songwriting session. That's just like a thing. And then last one, speaking of people being there, this one's not really about songwriting, but I found it to be very crucial, very important, and I will be doing an episode more about this stuff in the future. But number 10, take a friend with you and tell them that they're not writing. So, especially if you're a female, if you're a woman, look, not all dudes are creepers, and not all creepers are dudes, but take a friend. I always encourage female artists, don't go to meetings alone. Don't go to, these coffee shop conversations with a producer that just wants to sit down and catch up, just don't go alone. I mean, unless it's, I, the music industry is a really interesting collection of humans, and that doesn't mean that all people are bad. That doesn't mean all people are good. We're all simply flawed humans, and just don't go by yourself. I think it's really crucial to say to a friend like, "Hey, I have a songwriting session coming up. It's mostly going to be dudes there, or it's going to be a bunch of women that I don't know, or it's going to be a bunch of people that I don't know, and you won't be able to contribute to the song because that would make things complicated in like a professional way and just kind of awkward. So just, I know it sounds weird, but just maybe don't share ideas if you have them. I know it feels weird. I know it feels weird. I know songwriting's crazy. But can you just grab some headphones and, watch a movie and just hang out with me while I'm there, and I'll buy you lunch. I think it's much better to have a friend sitting there silently catching up on their favorite show. And just to know that you have one of your people in the room than to be in an environment by yourself and it turns out to not be an environment you want to be in, or you're thinking constantly, overthinking how, like, is this the environment I want to be in, or what if it happens to something else, right? I mean, of course, if you're writing with someone that that you're close with, I understand that, a guy or a girl, I understand that you might be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, whatever, whatever. But I say this as an artist that has been in lots of different writers' rooms, some that I didn't feel comfortable in, and some that were some of the greatest experiences of my life. Um, I loved having the support from friends when I needed it. And I also loved when my friends were there for really awesome moments too. Um, I have friends that were like just in the room when I wrote really cool lyrics or when we tried a really cool taco restaurant. And so just having my friends along with me in that experience is really cool. So I strongly encourage women and girls not to go alone to stuff, especially when it comes to the music business, because as my daughter said yesterday, did not know she knew this. I said something to her and I was like, I need you to do XYZ. And she said, why? And my response was, because it's a good choice. Her response was, because you said so. I was like, no, I was actually giving you an explanation. She's like, because you said so. It's like, yes, and because it's a good choice. And because what? 4-year-olds are hilarious. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Truly, I hope it was helpful. I hope you feel like you can go write some songs and, collaborate with some fellow artists. I cannot wait to hear what you guys create. Also, thank you guys so much for streaming my new songs, Washington and Keep Going. They're off of my new record, Dreamers, that drops September 22nd, but you can already stream those 2 songs early. So thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here, and I will talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.